Okay, well, welcome to A Course in Miracles. This is your first time here. Welcome. The only rules in the class is that you don't have to believe it. You don't have to welcome it. Some of the ideas you might find hard to believe. Some of the ideas you might find startling. But if you use it, you'll find out that it works. So it's not about trying to convert anybody to anything. What you're on the lookout for is, if you notice, we got live music backing us up today. I tell you, we're just expanding in our support, aren't we? Yeah. I just wish it was Rick James. That's the only problem I'm having with it right now. Can't get it all the time, 100% like you think you want it, even though you get it the way you want it. So anyway, so I'm going to be quite loud and then take advantage and blend in with my background. That's cool, isn't it? It's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then I can read the section, you know. We're going to be on development of trust, if you got the book on page 10 in the teacher's manual. And I'm going to read the last paragraph I did last week. And then we're going to continue from there. So I'm going to take advantage of the music in the background. Now comes a period of settling down. This is a quiet time in which the teacher of God rests a while in reasonable peace. I say it's time to rest a while in reasonable peace. That's what, rest a while in reasonable peace. Do you want to rest a while in reasonable peace? Let's do what? Rest a while in reasonable peace. Now the teacher of God consolidates his learning. What does that mean? For you to consolidate your learning. That means you now begin to see the transfer value of what you have learned. So you see how you can apply it to different situations, what you've learned. Its potential is literally staggering. And the teacher of God, which is the teacher of love, is now at the point in which his progress, in which he sees in it his whole way out. Here you go. Give up what you do not want and keep what you do. What? Give up what you do not want and keep what you do. One more time now. Give up what you do not want and keep what you do. Ow, ow, ow. Give up what you do not want and keep what you do. Now you see now that that's the only thing you're being asked to do. How hard is that? Yeah. The only thing you're being asked to do is give up what you don't want, keep what you do want. So there's no sacrifice. What's the instruction?
Give up what you don't want.
Give up what you don't want and then do what? Keep what you do want. Okay, so you're at a point when you're developing trust that you're going to consolidate your learning. Consolidating your learning means that you are going to use your learning in every situation in your life. That you're not going to take some situations and apply your learning to it, and then you're going to take other situations and, I'm sorry. And then, it's a black thing. Okay. Give up what you do not want, keep what you do. You're going to apply what you've learned to every situation. He says, how simple is the obvious? How easy to do? He says, now the teacher of God, which is the teacher of love, needs this period of respite. Guess what? You haven't come as far as you think yet. All right? Then he says, yet when you're ready to go on, you go with mighty companions beside you. That's what I love. It says, at this point, when you're ready to go on in your spiritual path, and you start applying what you're learning to every situation in your life, then you're going to start attracting mighty companions. When you're not kidding around and you're sincere about your spiritual path, then you begin to draw other people to you who are also sincere about their personal growth. And that's when I say spiritual path, that's what we're talking about. Personal growth. Remembering who you really are. Getting in touch with who you really are. Getting in touch with you as love. Getting in touch with you as peace. So we are mighty companions. That's who we are. We each other's mighty companions. I tell you, pretty odd-looking bunch, isn't it? Look around this room. It's a pretty strange-looking mighty companions around here. But I'm so thankful for you. I'm so grateful for you. So when you're ready to go on, you go with what? Mighty companions beside you. Now, before you get your mighty companions, the Course in Miracles says, now you rest a while. It's about time, isn't it? He says, and then what do? You gather your mighty companions before going on. So if you're really doing this right, you're never doing it alone. That's how you can tell. If you're really beginning to advance in your spiritual awareness, then you start to get support. You start to draw people to you who are your mighty companions. Is that right? That's what's happening. So you know you must be doing it to some extent because you're no longer sitting up alone trying to do this. And he says, you will not go on from here alone. Isn't that great?
Yay.
So you will not go on from here alone. You're gathering your mighty companions beside you. You're going to have a period of rest and respite after you've done what? Given up what you don't want, and you kept what you do want. You're also seeing how you can apply the truth to every situation. Let me give you an example. The truth teaches that everything is either love or a call for love. That's the only thing that's happening in the world. No matter what it looks like, it's just love or call for love. So if that's true, then whatever you do is either love or call for love. You. In other words, I'm going to apply that to everyone, to everything. I'm going to transfer that to everything. If we give everything we see all the meaning that it has for us, we're the one that's giving everything all the meaning, then that's true with you. You see what I'm saying? If I'm practicing the truth, I'm not excluding it and saying, well, you know, everybody's innocent, which is what the Course teaches. We just make mistakes. Mistakes are for correction, but we're not guilty and sinful. So if that's true, then I can't exclude the people I don't like. I can't say that's true about everybody but the people that I don't like, because then I'm not transferring what I've learned to everyone in every situation. So if you're transferring it, you're applying it to everything. And don't forget to include you, because sometimes we leave us out. It's almost like instead of saying, we should kind of like get to the point we treat ourselves as well as we treat other people. Because sometimes, especially if we think of ourselves as growing spiritually, we will start to treat other people and try to forgive them and overlook their errors and what they do and still be hard as hell on ourselves. So then it gets to the point, let me treat myself as well as I'm treating you. Let me forgive myself as quickly as I want to forgive you. So don't forget, don't leave yourself out. All of this good stuff applies to you too. Okay, any questions or comments about that paragraph before we go to the next one? You're better clear on that.
Apparently.
So no more of this thinking that you have to sacrifice. Nobody's telling you to give up something before you're ready to give it up. You gotta let that go. You keep what you do want, let go of what you don't want. Okay? Any questions? Any discussion? Any comments? Yes, my brother.
What if there's a person that you don't want, but you still treat them like, I'm kind of confused by that.
Speak a little bit louder.
A person that you don't want, or like who you think, is not somebody you enjoy being around or help you reach your goals. And the dynamic between that and treating people like this, the way you're saying. I don't know, I'm having a hard time expressing my thoughts right now. But,
well, just kind of take it back to keep what you do want, let go of what you don't want. And that'll answer it. Do you want to keep this relationship with the person that you feel no peace with?
No.
Okay, then don't.
It's so simple it's hard.
That's ridiculous. You can't do that. Don't deal with them, There's a line in the Course where it says, I was saying just this morning, recognize misery and go the other way. You know what I'm saying? Because especially if you're an adult, you choose in your relationships, especially if you're an adult. So really adults have no excuse for being in relationships with people that they don't want to be in relationships with. I mean, you might think you have to do it with your children or something like that, but you don't really have to do it with them if you can stand the guilt. But, yeah, I know people haven't spoken to their folks for years. So it's not no guarantee just because that's your mother that you're going to be in contact. If your mother's abusing you constantly, you owe it to yourself not to be around her. You know, if it's not love, you don't have to stick in nothing with nobody that's not love. But if you feel like you need to stay in it, now how can you tell that you need to stay in it? You don't give it up.
Yeah.
So if you're trying, remember, maybe means no. Maybe means no. I don't know, shouldn't I? Maybe I need to stay. No. Make a decision one way or another so you won't be in conflict. It's that in-between thing that keeps you in conflict all the time. You know, maybe I call it maybe means so. Maybe we'll get together next Thursday, and then I go with my man, no. And then I go ahead and make whatever plans I need to make for next Thursday. I don't, you guys don't get me to struggle along with that. Maybe I'll give you a call. No, I'm going to end this right now because I don't want to be in conflict. Yeah. Yes.
When you walk away from something that doesn't give you peace, there's an attitude. You want to do it with some kind of a
with some type of attitude. Joy.
But aren't you supposed to think about that person in a particular? You don't have to be around them, but they are innocent.
What you want to do is here's the way you do it. Maybe I want to choose out of this relationship, and I do choose out of the relationship. But I'm also asking Spirit, what was the lesson I needed to learn out of that? You know, what would be the best way to look at it? You see what I'm saying? But it doesn't mean I have to stay around in something that doesn't bring me into peace. I can choose out of it and still say, what is it I need to learn about this so that in the future I can handle it different, see it differently, maybe not make the same choice and make a different kind of choice. See, we're brought up in a system that says love is sacrifice. So we think it's all about how much you sacrifice and put up with what you don't like makes you a more stronger, better spiritual person. And the truth is, all that does is breed resentment and hate and attack. And then people don't realize why they got so much resentment. Well, you're with somebody you don't want to be with, doing something you don't want to do all the time. What else you going to build but resentment and hate? You see what I'm saying? But we've learned, well, if you love somebody, you sacrifice, you know. But the father that works 70 hours a week to feed a family that he loves is not sacrificing. That is not the way he's seeing it. He's seeing it as, I'm doing this for the people that I love. If the father is working 70 hours a week and wants to slip some of them some poison on the side, now that's the one that's sacrificing. He hates his family because of what he's. So sacrifice is an attitude, it's not an act. All acts are neutral. Now it's neither good nor bad. It's how I want to see it. 7 hours a week, that's not bad, that's not good. Now whether or not I'm giving myself peace about that is whether or not I'm seeing it as sacrifice. So it's the way we're looking at things. Like same thing about loss. The Course in Miracles says there's no such thing as loss. Because what's lost to one person, to another person, they see it as a total blessing. Ooh, I lost my job today. Ooh, I lost my job today. See, same, it depends on how you want to look at it. So loss is not real because everybody's got different ideas about what that means. You know, I lost my mother is different from my mother was in agony and her body no longer served her and she was ready to go to another plane. In that sense, it's not a loss. I'm glad to see my mother not in that kind of pain and suffering. You see what I mean? So loss is an individual, strictly individual perception. So there really is no such thing as loss. There's a perception of loss. So if you do let go of somebody, you want to ask, how can I see this in such a way that it benefits me and benefits them too?
And that's forgiveness.
That's forgiveness. Forgiveness is my willingness to see it another way. You know, I can think of many people who stick in situations that you almost wish they would go, but they stick around. And you're like, if you really love me, you actually let me go. Some of you may have even said that to people before. If you really love me, if I really love you, we'll let each other go out of an act of love. So love isn't clinging to someone. The most loving thing you can do in some situations is release someone, right? Yeah, so it's perception. It's how you choose to see it. Yes.
You always almost answer my question before I even have a chance to ask it, so good job. But like, if
I'm just good.
I'm like, oh, you just stole it from me. But what about when you let go from, or you want somebody to let go of you and they stick around but you feel like attacked from them? it's like, is it my perception still that is messed up?
Okay, well, yeah, go ahead.
I don't know, just,
Well, if they are not treating you well and you are choosing to stay in a relationship, that's you not treating yourself
well,
well.
no, and I've said, you know, I've been in this situation where I said, like, okay, like you said, you know,
Yeah, so
I'm gonna let you go
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
I think it's better because we're both peaceful people.
Uh-huh.
But then when they don't go,
when they don't go,
they
it's-
don't leave me alone.
well,
what
when
do
they
you do?
when they don't go, it's because you haven't really meant it.
Okay. So
Okay,
there's
so
something
it's
within
really
me,
about
so-
it's really about you getting really sincere about it.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Well, because it happens a lot of people to say that. When I say I want to let it go, but they say no. Well, you still want them around.
Right.
They're psychically picking up that you really didn't do being there with any kind of real
Gotcha.
finality.
Okay.
Yeah. Because
What about it, like the attack part of it though? If I'm getting attacked from the other side.
well, that's what I'm saying. That's even
So
all the
same-
more
same
reason
thing,
why
yeah.
you need to let it go.
Just be genuine.
Yeah.
Feel it.
Yeah, and feel your feelings about it, and do whatever you need to do to change your perception of it. But if they're not physically attacking you, this is interesting.
Right.
This is
Right.
the interesting part.
No.
If they're not physically attacking you, they're not attacking you no matter what they're saying,
Right.
because you're the one that's giving what they're
Mhm.
saying all the meaning that it has. So they could call you anything, but if you don't give it any power, then you don't have to feel bad about it.
Right.
Right? But if you give it power, then you feel bad, and that's why I was saying a few weeks ago that even though this will not be very popular in the world, the course teaches that all attack is physical. So there's really no such thing as emotional attack. And you hear people say that, he's emotionally abusing me. No, if he's not touching you, he's not making you feel anything. You're the one that's making yourself feel that. So you're feeling bad because you're buying into what they're saying. It isn't them doing anything. And that freaks some people out because they love to think that other people have control over how they feel. And people who believe like people who say, you make me mad, you make me mad. You see what I'm saying? People who talk like that, then they see themselves always as victims of what everybody else is doing. A person who's becoming conscious would say something like, I'm making myself mad about, I am upsetting myself about, then you empower yourself, but at the same time, you are also being honest about how you feel. I'm making myself feel like you are attacking me. So if you said that, you're still admitting just how you feel it. I feel like you're attacking me, but you're empowering yourself because you're saying, I'm making myself feel like you are attacking me. So if you're just always at the beginning of anything, tell yourself you're the one that's making yourself feel that way, no matter what it is, then no matter what you feel, you'll be empowered. Okay? Yes.
I'm just wondering how that applies with children.
In what way?
So let's say they have a parent
Mm-hmm.
who's, and while they're trying to develop their self-esteem,
Mm-hmm.
Coming from this person that's supposed to be loving and taking care of them,
Mhm.
if this parent is saying things to them
Mm-hmm.
that are not loving,
Mm-hmm.
then how would you help a kid to apply the course principle?
You would tell them the same thing. You would tell them the same thing. You would tell them that they are loved, they are saved, they are valuable, they are priceless, they are powerful. So what you would do as an adult is you would counteract it. You would, every time you would get it. This is one way you can. I always say ask spirit. So that's number one. Okay, so I'm just telling you what I would do. If I was in a situation where I saw that happening and it wasn't my child, and if I didn't have the kind of relationship with the person that I felt like I could talk to them about it, then I would surely make sure that I was praying for them, giving the child to God, and also every time I would get a chance, I would try to tell that child how valuable and how beautiful I thought that child was. So I would become the parent. I would become the surrogate parent, telling the person what the loving parent would say. Just an example. Because a teacher is a demonstrator, the course says. So if I'm going to be a good teacher, then let me demonstrate. And that's also would be a good thing that you would be doing for the parent. But again, we're talking about you being the love you want to have, you being the truth you want to receive. It really comes, again, back to us. Always, it's going to come back to us. All right, so let's do the next paragraph. You ready? Okay. The next stage is indeed a period of unsettling. Now must you, the teacher of God, understand that you didn't really know what was valuable and what was valueless. That's the deep thing. First he says, give up what you don't want, keep what you do. Then the next paragraph it says, well, you're going to really realize one day that you didn't really know what was valuable. You thought you knew what was valuable, but the truth is none of us really knows what's really valuable. One day, there may be a time in your life you thought the most valuable thing was having a flat screen TV. Then at some point you may get on the spiritual path, you realize, no, the most valuable thing is recognizing my innocence and recognizing who I really am. So you really get to a point on the spiritual path, you realize your value sucked. That you were really valuing a lot of stuff that really didn't have any value at all. That you really don't know what's valuable and what's valueless. He says, all that you really learned so far is that you don't want what's valueless. Then he goes on to say, and that you do want the valuable. He said, yet your own sorting out what? What's valueless and what's valueless was meaningless in teaching you the difference. See, that's what I love about the Course in Miracles. You get to the point that you realize what you value in most cases is just what you were taught to value. That we're just robots. And then from the time we got here, people were telling us what's valuable, what's important, and we just bought into it. You know, so for a lot of people, the highest level of value would be, let me get married, let me have children, let me buy a house. Let me get a job, let me work to retirement. And if you think about it, that's what we were taught, right? So what you want to get to is the point that you can be shown what really is valuable. What really is valuable. Is it more valuable to have a house, or is it more valuable to have love? Is it more valuable to have peace, or is it more valuable to have a car? You see what I'm saying? It's like we really don't know what's valuable because everything in the world is neutral. So therefore, it's not whether or not I get the house, it's how much peace I give myself in the house. It's not whether I get the car, but whether I have peace with this. So in the end, it's not going to be the physical thing that's valuable. It's going to be how you treat yourself through the physical thing that you give yourself. That's going to be what's valuable. Whether I'm giving myself joy out of this, or whether I'm giving myself conflict, that's what's valuable. What's valuable is my peace. What's valuable is how much love I have. So he says, now, the reason why we don't know the difference between what's valuable and what's valueless, he says, is because the idea of sacrifice, so central to our thought system, has made it impossible for us to judge what's valuable and what's valueless. I like to read it this way. You thought you learned willingness, but now you see that you don't know what the willingness is for. Like, I've been studying all this stuff to be more willing. I'm willing, Lord, but for what? What is my willingness for? I'm saying I'm willing, but if it's not all the old values I used to have, then what is it that I'm really willing for? He says, because now you see that you don't know what the willingness is for, now you must attain a state that may remain impossible to reach a long, long time. What is that? You must learn to lay all judgment aside and ask only what you really want in every circumstance. Now I'm going to be with that sentence with you just for a second, because that's a deep sentence. Okay. Now I don't know I got this willingness, but I don't know what it's for because I really don't know what's valuable and I really don't know what's valueless, right? So he says, then you must attain a state that may remain impossible to reach for a long, long time. He says, what is that state? A state where you lay all judgment aside. So how do you lay all judgment aside? Well, the way you lay all judgment aside is to ask only what you really want. Ask only for what you really want in every circumstance. In other words, if I'm going, I really want to pick up this remote control, then I don't have to judge anymore because now I'm asking for what I really want. And I'm using judgment in order to decide what I really want. So once you go for what you really want, you start to lay your judgment aside. Because there's no need to judge because I know what I really want. So I don't have to judge now. I know what I really want. So how can I make this real simple for everybody? 1,000 times a day, ask yourself, what do I really want? And most people don't do that. Ask yourself, what do I really want in my relationship? Really be real with yourself. Don't just expect the right relationship to show up. What do you really want in your relationship? What do you really want to happen to you today? What do you really want to happen to you financially? What do you really want to happen to you spiritually? What do you really want to happen to you sexually? What do you really want to happen to you in your career? What do you really want? And most people will say with a great answer that with a great resounding, I don't know. And the Course says, the Course of Miracles teaches, if you say you don't know, then you're going to be one of these people that things just happen to. So if you're one of these people that always looks like something's happening to you, you're just this really nice person, but something is always happening to you. That's because you don't have any idea what should happen to you. That's what he says. If you have no idea what should happen to you, then things are going to just seem like they're happening to you. So if you're one of those people, you really need to do this exercise. And then people say, well, I don't know what I really want. And I say, well, let me give you some suggestions. You want freedom. You want safety. You want joy. You want health. You want fulfillment. Right. Well, of course I do. That's what people go, well, of course I do. And of course I don't have to mention that. Of course that's what I want. What I'm trying to figure out is how. See, that's what the mind's trying to come up with. You know, how do I get that joy? How do I get that peace? And that's the part that's not our business. That's the part that's not our business. The how isn't our business. The what is our business. What do you want? The Course in Miracles teaches that the goal creates the circumstances that allow you to meet the goal. I say it again. Having a goal will create the circumstances that allow you to meet the goal. For instance, if I said, I really want to be a lawyer, this is an example. Me having that goal will automatically start directing me to the how. But if I didn't know I wanted to be a lawyer, I wouldn't even begin to move toward where you got to go to law school, you got to get to this, you got to file this, you apply for that. So the once you get clear on the how, what you want, then the how will present itself. I want to be abundant. There's so many ways that you could achieve that. You could achieve that through the Course in Miracles in terms of changing your mind about lack. Or if you just wanted to do it the regular way people do it, there's a 900,000 books on the market about how to allow yourself to have more money, more abundance. You know what I'm saying? The how is already there. But if you just shucking and jiving and you don't really want it, but you're just saying it, then you'll always keep saying, how can I do it? But the reason why you don't see how you can do it is because you don't really want it, is what the Course would say. You don't really want it. That's why you don't see the how doesn't present itself, because you're kidding. You're saying you want it, but you don't. I'm in this marriage and it's horrible. How can I deal with it? You're not the first person to have a horrible marriage. So there's a million ways to get out of a horrible marriage, even at a worldly level. Don't even take into consideration the spiritual lessons. You know, there are a million people that can tell you what to do in relationships. You got Dr. Phil on 5 times a week. You know what I'm saying? It's like, if you really want another way to look at it, it's there. But if you really want to suffer, why would you leave? You're getting what you want. Yeah. So if you want to suffer because you think you're not even worth it, you'll never leave that relationship. That relationship is giving you the punishment that you think you deserve. That's why you can't get away from them, because they're actually giving you what you want. And no, that's not true. I really don't want to be mistreated. Yes, you do. Yeah. Why? Because there are alternatives and you're not using any of them. That's the part that's kind of tough, isn't it? Because we want to really believe that we're victims of situations that we don't want to be in, but that's never true, ever. I'm always getting what I really want. So the Course is saying, what should we do? We should ask ourselves, what do I really want? So that will take you past judgment. And then he says, were not each step in this direction so heavily reinforced, it would be hard indeed. So if you have been studying your spiritual path, what he's saying, that the more you study your spiritual path, the easier it becomes for you to start asking for what you really want. Because you believe you deserve it more and more every day, and you won't settle for anything less. There are just some certain things I will not put up with anymore in my life. Period. It's not even debatable. I'm not doing that anymore. But I had to learn to look at it that way. Hopefully some of you got to that point that you said, this is my line in the sand. I am not going over this line for anybody else. I call it your psychic territorial power. It's just something, it's got to be an area around you that you go, no one encroaches on this area. This is me. I'm not letting anybody mistreat me, abuse me, attack me. I don't care what, you will not do that to me. Some people won't do that because they believe that they deserve to be abused. And so we're developing trust. So in developing trust, we have to do what? We have to go through a period of undoing. We have to go through a period of sorting out. We have to go through a period of relinquishment. We have to go through a period of settling down. He says then we have to go through a period of actually unsettling. Okay, so I've gathered my mighty companions, right? And then he says after you gather your mighty companions, you're going to go into a period of unsettling. That you're going to start to see you don't really know what's valuable. You don't really know what's valueless. You don't really know how to tell the difference between the two, and that you have all this willingness, but you don't know what the willingness is for. And not only that, he goes on to say, you have to learn how to start asking for what you really want, and asking for what you really want in every circumstance. So it becomes, what do I really want? And so that's the key going into this upcoming week. What do I really want? What do I really want? Okay, any questions about that paragraph? Any comments? Yes.
And I know I've asked similar before, and I'm going here again.
Is there any particular reason why?
Because I want to.
Thank you.
If somebody said, what do you want, or do you want that, there's a part of me that would, before I could say what I want, I start feeling I can't ask for what I don't deserve. And so I might say, I want something, and but my heart wouldn't be in it, because before my heart could go into it and really feel like I wanted that, I would be stopped by the feeling I don't deserve it. And so now I'm wondering, I'm thinking reflection, I need to really ponder that, or practice it?
I would ponder it, but even more than that, I would keep asking for what I really wanted until I was asking for something.
Ask to know what I really want.
Well, you can ask to know what you really want, but you could also, there is something you know you really want. There's something you could ask for that you know you really want that you wouldn't feel the least bit not worthy of asking for. You know, don't you really want peace? Oh, come on.
I'm sorry.
You know you really want peace.
But I find myself being, moving toward lack of it.
But see, the question wasn't how you felt about it. The question was, what do you want?
Oh, okay. Not what it seems like I want.
Yeah, it's not all. But you see, what you're adding to it, and I'm glad you're mentioning this. What you're adding to it is your story.
Got it.
It's the story that's the problem. I really want peace. My story is, I fell out of the bed when I was 3 years old and fell on my head, and I don't deserve to have no peace because that messed me up for life. See what I'm saying? That's we have our story, and it's our story that's screwing us up. Don't forget that. It's the story that's the problem. The truth is simple. It's the story. I want to have a relationship that's full of love and peace, but every relationship that I've had so far never really worked out. See, that's my story. I added my story to the desire. So what you want to do is, can I do my desires without my story? Would I be willing to even just, how do I do that? You can even tell yourself it's your story. Like if you go ahead and have your story, just tell yourself, okay, this is my story. And it'll start to seem silly to you. Especially if you just call it your story. I got my Black Men in America story. And I can use that story, or I can go, I'm a holy child of God, I'm innocent, I'm powerful, I'm creative, I'm not alone, I have mighty companions, there's another way to look at it, and I'm choosing for something different today. Or I can go, I'm a Black man in America that's oppressed by the man. You know what I'm saying? So at some point on the spiritual path, you have to give up your story. And people are amazed at how attached they are to their story. Because your story is what you call your identity. So sometimes when you study the truth, it looks like it's asking you to give up your identity. And all it's really asking you to do is give up your story. It's a story. How do you know it's a story? Because right now, you're whole, complete, sitting here, and you don't have to continue to keep that story going. You're just keeping it going. Why? Because it's serving some purpose that you don't want to give up yet. That's why you don't let go of a story. It's because what you think the story is bringing you is more important than letting the story go. So if I really am afraid to be aggressive and go after what I want, then I got to keep my story that I'm insecure and I can't have what I want. But that's because I'm afraid. So I'm going to hang on to that story because I'm afraid. And most people, let's face it, they're pretty afraid to stand up for who they really are because we need validation and approval so much. And there's a stage on the spiritual path where, do you know that there is a stage of growth on the spiritual path where you get no validation? that you actually have to develop the strength of the courage of your convictions with no validation.
Oh.
And that's scary for most people because they're looking so much for somebody to go, oh yeah, I really think what you're doing is the right thing. You know what I'm saying? And then there's a point on the spiritual path for your own growth that you have to go, you know what? I know it looks like everybody doesn't understand what I'm doing. They might not agree with me. Even parts of me don't agree with me, but everything in my gut tells me I've got to do this right now. All of us have probably had those experiences where we just knew we had to make a move whether anybody else saw it that way or not. You know, that's the key to happiness, by the way, because each one of us have our own individual spiritual path that's unlike anybody else's. And so you've got to start trusting your relationship to spirit at some point, because your path literally isn't going to be like anybody else's path, so they can't give you the kind of validation you want. All they can do is validate that you have the right to follow your own spiritual path. And that's what I do with each and every one of you. Yeah, I'm trying to tell you, you got to do it the way I do it, but what I want to do is constantly remind you, you got the right to do it. And that's where your happiness is located. Why? Because the more I tell you that, the more I believe that is true for me as far as following what I believe is right in my heart. That's how I reinforce my own self-validation, is by telling you, hey, tell me what you want, and if it's peaceful, I want to support you in that 100%, even though I wouldn't necessarily do what you're getting ready to do right now. Not you ought to do it my way. So if you really know something is right for you, I'm glad you brought this up. It's better to just go ahead and do it and then tell people about it afterwards. Because if you tell a person something that you're getting ready to do and it's different from what they would do, then they're going to feel compelled to tell you that what you're doing is not going to work. Not because they care so much about you, but because it's a threat to what they've decided is right for them to do. So you're asking for them to give you their point of view. And if you're not sure, it's good to ask people's opinion, I think. But if you are certain, do it. Don't discuss it with anybody. If you know it's in your heart, right, and it's not violent and it's not attacking anyone, the worst thing that could happen would be that, oh, okay, maybe I shouldn't have made that choice. And then you move on. You see what I mean? So you're waking up as spiritual beings. So it's going to be kind of scary because it means you're going to have to actually trust yourself. The one person you don't trust is self.
Right.
So that's the scariest thing you can tell people. Especially when they think their decisions have brought them nothing but pain in the past. And you say, trust yourself. So if you got a spiritual practice, though, this is what you do. You come up with whatever it is you're telling yourself. You go to your spiritual practice and you ask yourself, does this agree with my spiritual practice? That's the point of having a spiritual practice, is that it allows you to tell when you're getting off the mark, if this is what you say is your spiritual practice. Like for me, it's a Course in Miracles. So if I'm getting ready to do something, then I'm asking myself, does this correspond with what the Course teaches? If it does, then I feel more comfortable doing it. If it doesn't, then I say, well, maybe I need to reconsider this. But if you don't have a spiritual path that you trust enough to do that, then it's important to get a spiritual path that you do trust enough to do that, even if it's not the Course. And when you're learning how to trust yourself, it's sort of like a stepping stone to trusting yourself. So if you know you're trying to develop trust in yourself, then you have some type of a spiritual practice that gives you guidelines to let you know when it's you listening to your ego, the part of you that doesn't know, or when you're listening to your spiritual self, the part of you that does know. And then after a while, you learn how to tell the difference, and then you don't even need the book to know what would be the right choice for you, because you learn how to tell. Does that make sense to everybody? But if you don't ever give yourself a spiritual practice, you're going to be screwing yourself up for years. And Americans have a tendency to think that they can just figure everything out without any kind of guidance. If you got enough money, you make it. So then let's just get as much money as we possibly can, because as an American, if you have enough money, then everything's going to be okay. So Americans are driven by materialistic desires, and it makes perfect sense. It looks like if I have enough money, if I can just win the lottery, everything is going to be okay. You know, instead of being driven by awakening and realization and higher consciousness, we're driven by how much money can I get, because then I can take care of all my problems, and I can buy me a few friends too. So I'm not even lonely on Saturday night. Money is the answer to everything, you know. So I'm supporting you in trusting yourself more. So I'm gonna say again, what do you want? As people in counseling, you know, what do you want in a relationship? And they'll say, you know, I want somebody that's, you know, fun. Okay, they could be fun and be crazy as hell. You know, so it's like you might want somebody that's sane. You might want to start with sanity. Just for a little tip. You might want somebody that's got some freaking sense. Oh, I want them to have blue eyes. Blue eyes. Serial killer with blue eyes. You know. And then she strangles you. Look into my pretty blue eyes. That's strangle the life out your ass. Okay. So you might want to go for awareness. Just a little hint, just a little tip. I'm not trying to force my wheel on anybody. You might want to go for awareness. Loving. You can communicate with them. And know that you're going to lose your mind sometimes and they're going to lose their mind sometimes. So if you don't develop the ability to forgive, you're going to be in trouble. Because you're learning how to love and they are too. You don't know how to do it perfectly and they don't either. So no sane couple is putting the requirement on each other that you got to always do it right. They're putting the requirement on each other that we're going to try to handle it differently. But we're going to see if we can get beyond any blocks that we got. Everybody with me on that? Anybody else? Before I move on? Yes, my darling.
The unsettled period?
The unsettled period.
This is after you've mastered something and then you're going to...
Well, the unsettled period comes after you've given up what you don't want, kept what you do want, and you've allowed yourself to get some support. Because once you have support, it's easier to go through unsettling things if you have support. Because in the unsettling period, you're going to understand you don't really know what's valuable. And so you really need to learn what's really valuable and what's really valueless.
And this is before you're on your own because you...
This is all part of the development of trust. That's what this whole section is. That's why I like it. He's going to go through all the characteristics of developing trust in self and God. You know, and the first step is, you go through these stages of undoing. And the undoing is what scares people because you got to kind of let go of your attachment to the way that you see things and be willing to look at it another way.
It almost sounds like gestation.
Yeah, it is gestation. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a great way to put it. It's like you pregnant, right? And you're pregnant with yourself. You know, that happens when you masturbate a lot. And so, who do you think gonna get pregnant? You. That wasn't a very holy thing to say in a spiritual class, was it? I'm never coming back. Come on, pass this around. Yeah.
On that note.
Yeah. On that note, let me distract everybody, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, but it is like we're in a spiritual gestation. Yeah, it's growing within us. It's growing within us. It hasn't been born yet, and these are the stages of how you have a healthy pregnancy.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, this is how you have a healthy pregnancy, is to realize that you are going to go through a period of unsettling, that you really don't know what's really valuable and what's really valuable, but you're no longer alone right now. And you know that at this stage you're supposed to be asking, what do I really want? 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 And then don't censor yourself. Don't go, I'm only going to write down what sounds spiritual. If you really want a washing machine, write that down. Because it's still getting you in the habit of asking for what you really want. And so one of the reasons I passed that book around is because I video these classes, as you've noticed, and then I send links to watch them again to review it. And I also let you know about workshops and other things that I'm doing when I'm in town and when I'm out of town. So it's a way of having the contact with your mighty companions, what it's saying, so that you're not alone, that you do have the support in what you're doing. It's not to harass you and beg for money. Okay. That comes later.
You do have a cinematography, or you can
Yeah, I'm videoing it. I always video. I literally got 700 videos on YouTube. Yeah, I'm really getting ready to put some on now.
How often do you usually update them?
Every week.
You do? Okay.
I got all 365 Course in Miracles workbook lessons video. So if you were doing the workbook lessons of Course in Miracles, you just do Purdy lesson blank, and it'll come up. Purdy lesson 23, and it'll come up, and you can watch that particular lesson. I want to be supportive. I want to be a mighty companion, but you have to be willing to type. It's a ridiculous requirement for spiritual growth. Type, So I'm gonna do the last paragraph here of this particular part, and then next week we're gonna do one I think is gonna be really kick butt, and that's honesty. It's together. All right. And ta-da! Finally, there is what? A period of achievement. And then I'm gonna go into the period of achievement right after this break, where we're gonna do the love offering, the financial expression of appreciation. We're gonna do that right now. I want to thank you for your financial expressions of appreciation. I'm a full-time teacher of A Course in Miracles. That's all I do in the world is teach, so I appreciate your support so we can keep this going. Those of you on the internet, thank you for your support. You've been great. And if you want to make a financial expression of appreciation, I love that. Financial expression of appreciation. Then you can go to my website, earlpurdy.com, and you can do it online. And I'm also available for one-on-one personal counseling sessions called Clarity Sessions. And if you're open to it, I also use my knowledge of astrology and numerology. If you'd like to have one of those sessions, just go to my website. It explains them in detail, and we can also have a personal session. There are no original problems. So whatever the thing is that you're going through, and also think about, when you are expressing yourself in the world, you like to receive for what you give. It's not like you go to work every week and at the end of the week you expect them to give you a hug. The same thing is true for me. This is what I do in the world, so I appreciate you all sharing and giving, because it's not like you're not receiving something. I'm giving from my heart also. So I have no guilt about asking, because it's not charity. So thank you. Thank you so much for realizing that, showing someone that you appreciate them is what you do when you're involved in spiritual being and you're beginning to grow. You want to give what you want to receive. That's what I'm trying to do, as much as I can. So thank you again. Tuesday night I do a class called The Way of Mastery. It's a very powerful class. It's a kick butt class. It's not for the faint of heart either. It's deep metaphysical concepts. It's a totally strange class, saying totally strange things for 90 minutes. So don't come if you're expecting to hear ordinary descriptions of what your life is about. It's really deep. So that's Tuesday night at 7 o'clock. Right. Okay, so here we go, the last paragraph. It says, and finally there's a period of achievement. Wait. It's here that learning is consolidated. Now what does that mean? See, when you read any sentence in the Course in Miracles, you could go, now what does that mean? Thank you so much. It means that what was seen as merely shadows before becomes solid gains, to be counted on in all so-called emergencies as well as tranquil times. So what does that mean? It means that you've gotten to the point that your learning is so solid that you count on it. Even in emergencies, you can count on this truth that you've learned, and you also know that even in peaceful times, you can count on this truth that you've learned. It says, indeed, the tranquility is their result. Tranquility is the outcome of what? Honest learning, consistency of thought, and full transfer. So you could say it this way. Tranquility is honest learning, consistency of thought, and full transfer. You could also say honest learning is consistency of thought, And honest learning is fully transferring what you've learned. So you're an honest person if you have you're consistent in your way of thinking, and you also use that thinking in every situation that you are in. That's a person who has tranquility. They know what they can count on, and they use it in every situation and with every person that they're with. They don't act one way with one person and then have a different purpose with another person. They're consistent. I want peace with every one of you consistently. I don't want peace just with her and not with him. I want the consistent thinking, and I want to transfer it to all of you. He says that's when you will have tranquility. Then it goes on to say, this is the stage of real peace. For here is heaven's state fully reflected. So you always go back. What is heaven's state fully reflected? What is that? It's real peace. What is real peace? Honest learning, consistency of thinking, and fully transferring everything that you're thinking to everything that's happening to you all day. So you can't go, I'm responsible for how I see things with my mama, but I'm not responsible for how I see things with my cousin.
Right.
You cannot be, it's just true in one area, but it's not true in the other area. So that's full transfer. And then it says, from here, the way to heaven, which is happiness, is open and easy. In fact, it's here. I mean, who would go anywhere if peace of mind is already complete? Who would seek to change tranquility, I like that word, tranquility for something, what's more desirable than tranquility? What's more desirable than total fulfillment? That's what peace is. And then it says, what could be more desirable than this? Total tranquility, total fulfillment, total joy. What could be better than that? If you were totally and completely satisfied and blissed out exactly where you are right now, why would you go anywhere? If your relationship was totally and completely satisfied, you wouldn't be looking for another one. You'd be right there. You'd be trying to receive as much of that relationship as you possibly could. It's only unhappy people that's seeking, not the happy ones. A truly happy person is just trying to allow themselves to experience and receive more and more of that happiness and the appreciation of the thing that they're experiencing happiness with. People who are not, then they're always jumping from one thing to another thing to another thing. Maybe it's this one, maybe it's that one, maybe it's that person, maybe it's this person, maybe it's that circumstance, maybe it's this circumstance, maybe it's that city, maybe it's that. That's the people who have not achieved the stage of real peace yet. And if you're one of those people, you're innocent. You just need to go through the stages that we've been talking about, which is what? The period of undoing. How can you tell when you finish with the period of undoing? You will say, all the changes in my life are always helpful. Then you go through the period of sorting out. So what do you say at the end of the period of sorting out? The only thing that's valuable is what's helping me. So you start to go, what's valuable is what helps me. What's not valuable is what's not helpful. Okay? Then he goes to the third stage of developing trust, which is the period of relinquishment. And he says in the period of relinquishment is when you recognize that you do not lose anything by giving up what is valueless. And then the period of settling down is the period in which you realize you are going to gain your mighty companions, and you give up what you don't want and you keep what you do want. The next stage is the period of unsettling. And in that period, you get to the point that you realize you don't really know what's valuable, but you're going to start asking yourself, what do I really want? 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 And then the last stage is when you start to have consistency of thought, you fully transfer what you learn, and you finally achieve tranquility. And that's the stage of real peace. Those are the stages that you are going to go through before you have trust. Some of you may be in stage 2 of one area of your life, stage 1 of another area of your life, stage 4 in another area of your life. And if you don't get excited about the idea of your own happiness, you have serious issues. If you can be bored about the idea of your own happiness, why in the world do you think somebody else should be more excited about your happiness than you are? But I see that a lot as a teacher. It's almost like people expect somebody else to be enthusiastic about their life, and you see that they're not enthusiastic about their life, but they're expecting somebody else. They're going to meet somebody who's going to be more enthusiastic about them than they are.
Yay.
You know, I have no enthusiasm for myself, but Frankie's going to really make me feel it. You know what I'm saying? You want to get that one up because your world is a mirror. And so if your world is a mirror, then people are going to reflect back to you how you feel about yourself. So that's why I said start asking, what do you really want? Be honest. If you want a flat screen TV, say that. You know why? Because you'll be enthusiastic about it. If you really want a flat screen, you'll really be more excited about that than wanting freedom. So start out with what you even think you want, and then start to work it to the point you go, you know what I really want is total fulfillment. I want to feel completely fulfilled in my life in every area. That's what I really want. I want to have a totally fulfilling situations in my life.
Yes.
A totally fulfilling perception of myself in my life. I want to have totally fulfilling relationships in my life. I want a career that's totally fulfilling for me. I want a mission and a purpose and an idea about myself that turns me on. You know, I want to pass by the mirror and go, oh my God! I'm late for work. Why? I couldn't get past the mirror. You know, what's all that hooping and hollering going on in Earl's apartment? I'm so excited about me today. Same how it's standing. You know what I'm talking about? I mean, it sounds silly, but it really is true. I want to be that. I'm not that way yet. But I want to be that way about myself. That I'm thrilled about me, and I'm thrilled about my life. I don't want to wait for anybody else to pat me on the back. I want to kiss myself.
Kiss myself.
That's right. You know. So one of my favorite things is to say, you know, kiss my past. You know what I'm saying? It's time for you to bless your past. Right today, we're going to release our past. How do you release your past in 5 minutes? Less than 5 minutes, 2 minutes. The way to release your past in 2 minutes, according to the course, is to say, all the changes I went through in my past were helpful. That everything about my past was helpful. It brought me to the point I am today, and I'm trying to be a more loving person today, right? So we go, my past was helpful. It helped me become who I am right now. Then you don't have to analyze a childhood that you see as benefiting you. So if you go, my childhood, even if it was tough, it was part of the formula that created the person that's sitting up here right now. So therefore, my past isn't something I need to criticize myself about, put myself down, and even have all these grievances against everybody about. It was all part of my story that brought me to this place I am today, where I'm this juicy, fabulous, incredible being that people feel honored just to even see in King Super. Would you acknowledge yourself? You're incredibly powerful, juicy. Acknowledge these mighty companions. My mighty companions. Yes. Go ahead. All right. I appreciate y'all. And we know the blessing for the class, which is, may the course be with you. I'll see you next time. Hugs are available. Ba-da.